Greater Sandton and beyond. Get ready for the Sandton Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour, edition 184. It's week 10 of 2025, and as always, this show is also available on all leading digital audio channels online, including Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and so many more. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Alexander Leipner, and this is the Sandton Times Hour, the award-nominated weekly audio digest of all things Sandton Times. A leading digital media maison chronicling life in Africa's richest square mile and beyond. And the show aims to be a rich mix of engaging content that spans topics from luxury to local culture, food to travel, motoring to lifestyle, and so much more. And whether you're discussing the latest trends with me in business or offering an insightful interview with a local celebrity, well, the Sandton Times Hour continues to be your trusted source for information and entertainment, and of course, inspiration in 2025. So, a very special welcome to everyone listening for the very first time, be it on 91.9 or online, as well as the Sandton Times Hour Nation in Johannesburg and Pretoria, across South Africa and everywhere else in the world, online or on air. Wherever you are, I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandton land. And I've said quite a bit now, but I would like to also hear from you. So if you'd like to get in touch, you can do so by sending through your questions, your comments, and your feedback on either email editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can connect on social media @SandtonTimes or hop onto the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And for those who've been regularly listening, we also now have a WhatsApp line. So if you want to get in touch with this show specifically, you can punch in 084 Sandton, that's 084 726 3866, and feel free to send through your voice notes, your text messages, and so much more, and we'll play those out in upcoming editions of the Sandton Times Hour, and it'll be good to hear your voice, good to hear your thoughts as the show unfolds this year. Joining me on the team is the less than fluent in English Vincenzo, back behind the mixing desk. It's good to see you, all the way from Bologna in Italy. I know you went to go visit some family, and of course you've been with us for quite some time after taking a bit of a break, but you've been with the show since almost inception, I think, 3 years ago. Vincenzo, you came and did a bit of a job shadowing, or what do they call it? Internship? Bit of experience, and you've never left. You're still around. My. Well, what a time it has been since our last show at the end of 2024, and so much has happened. Working behind the scenes, upgrading the show, doing some moving, bringing in some new technology, some upgrades, some new features, and of course, now on FM with 91.9. And it's great to welcome the 91.9 family and audience every single week to the Sandton Times Hour. Right, I had a chance to celebrate my birthday last week, so for those who did send through some well wishes, thank you so much for that. Another year older. And usually I do a bit of a rundown of my week that has been on the Sandton Times, but there's just too much to cover since we last spoke at the end of 2024, so I'm not even going to get into that. But I am looking forward to the week ahead. I'm going to be doing a bit of an event for Oracle. I'm going to be moderating an event for them, and of course I'm also going to be making an appearance on Scandal. Vincenzo, Scandal on ETV, that drama, the daily drama, that soap opera, that's going to be one for the books, let me tell you. I think it's on the 8th of March. So if you watch the show, keep a special eye out for the guy who's officiating a wedding. Might be me. Back to business. Who are we talking to this week? On the show, in a bit, I'll be trying to make sense of the dire traffic light situation in Sandton and what is causing this constant chaos on our roads. Then we take a bit of an easier listen as I chat to the GM of a newly opened hotel in Sandton. Stick around for that. After that, I get a chance to chat to a Sandton sous chef who learned his trade at a very young age from his father in Tembisa. It's a very interesting conversation. And finally, we head to the Seychelles to find out what this very popular travel destination has lined up for us in 2025. All this and more coming up next in the Sandton Times Hour.
The best of talk and music in 1 hour. This is the Sandton Times Hour.
This is the Sandton Times Hour, and as we get this week going, I thought, well, let's start off with a topic that affects all of us And I recently took a drive through Sandton, and wow, did I see a few things on the road. The one was a guy who was driving on Rivonia Road. He was busy on his cell phone with both his thumbs, one hand on the steering wheel, one hand on the cell phone, whilst his child was using the front seat as a bit of a jungle gym, no seatbelt. And I thought, well, this is not going to end well. Anyone who has a bit of a basic understanding of physics understands it's not a question of if, it's a question of when and how far that child is going to travel through the windscreen, never mind this person who was trying to drive and text all at the same time. The second part of that story is I've been driving to Fourways on a few occasions, having to go to some media events, and Fourways at the moment is a bit like, I don't know how to explain it. Like Lord of the Rings, like Mordor. I think it is just frightening what's going on there. If the traffic lights aren't working, something else isn't operating, but the roads are just, I don't even know how Fourways is functioning at the moment. And more and more I find myself having to cancel or not go to Fourways at all. Be it in the evening, be it during the day, it's just too much to digest. Anyway, on comes an email from Johannesburg Roads Agency speaking to a lot of the issues that the agency is facing in terms of traffic light signals, in terms of a lot of things. But it's not the conversation you're probably expecting this is going to be. There's more than one guilty party in this entire conversation. But here to chat to me about this is JRA's Acting Head of Mobility and Freight, Sipho Nhlapo. And Sipho, it's great to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you for getting me here and to your viewers as well.
So Sipho, let's just talk about this, let's call it a conundrum that the JRA finds itself in. It is a story of public infrastructure not working. It is a story of public infrastructure not working because it's damaged, because it's vandalized, because stuff is stolen, yes. But also public infrastructure that is being damaged, and I don't want to say not on purpose, but it's also falling victim to drivers who are busy with other things. How do you see the situation, Sipho?
Alex, thanks very much. And it's a challenge of the country, Alex. South Africa is faced with a very serious issue of theft of critical government infrastructure or any other infrastructure. We talk with our partners, let's say your cell phone companies like your Vodacom, MTN, they getting their batteries stolen left, right, and center. I think at some point I saw an article where they are saying per annum they are losing about 100 million rands in trying just to connect. Somebody just deciding to steal. So as government, we are not immune to this kind of behavior. If you look around Johannesburg as a whole, Johannesburg Roads Agency through the city of Johannesburg, we manage about 2,023 signalized intersections. Now, let me give you these in numbers so that you can see how vast that network is. I just use the word 2,000. But a typical intersection, Alex, will have about 8 poles on that intersection. Each intersection or each pole on the intersection will have a certain number of light bulbs or globes that you see there. So all in all, across the city, we're dealing with more than 100,000 LED lights on a daily given basis. These are the things that we have there. We're dealing with about 16,000 poles on the ground. So any pole, anything happening to any of that element there, we're going to have a problem. Now, inside this pole, so that the traffic light can work, you have your cable. This is the biggest culprit, where this is the biggest element that people are looking for. That's why when you see the poles are neatly cut, very straight line cut, because they are taking out the cable inside the pole. Now, if I were to tell you in meters how many kilometers of cable we have there, I cannot even give you the numbers because it will probably excite them more and then maybe thinking we still have to go more into the space. But it's massive kilometers of cable that we roll across our intersections. Now, Alex, you're saying it's theft. Somebody is stealing this stuff. Dealing with copper in this country is not a job. It's prohibited. Second-hand copper sales are prohibited in this country. It's illegal to be actually handling copper and selling it to anyone. It's illegal. So you can't tell me very small people are playing in this game. It's serious people who are playing in this game with copper. Now, these are the people that are making it difficult for us to actually give you a better service as the city of Johannesburg. Fourways areas, the one that we are mentioning a lot, and around your areas there, Alex, about 245 intersections across the city are owned by our colleagues at Province. So most of those big link roads there are part of them, but they are suffering the same consequence we are suffering. They are all being, their cable is also being stolen. Their traffic lights are vandalized. You tend to wonder when you see the poles on the ground. Say, why the pole on the ground? They are just looking for something inside there. That is the challenge we are facing at the moment, Alex.
Well, let's stay on this part of the issue, which is clearly crime. I read here that you get 360 cases a day that are reported in terms of theft and vandalism. And if I look at a statement by Cyril Ramaphosa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, in 2021 during a speech,
yes,
he said damage to public infrastructure, whether through vandalism or theft, is nothing less than sabotage against the aspirations of South Africans. Why are these crimes not treated accordingly?
Look, fortunately for us and the country, the Criminal Act was changed to accommodate this infrastructure theft. Before, if somebody had stolen something, they will have a really slap on the wrist and go home. Today, fortunately, the sentences are very high. I'll tell you now as an example. Last year alone, I think we managed to arrest 4. But after arresting these 4, I think 2 of them were sentenced, 1 to 18 years in prison, the other 1 to 8 years in prison. And then I think last month, the other one was sentenced to 3 years in prison, depending on the amount of copper they have. It's a challenge, but it's difficult. You cannot police each and every intersection.
I'm changing to the JRA's acting head of mobility and freight, Sipho Nhlapo. We're talking about, I'd like to say, the crisis that we face on Greater Sandton's roads, Johannesburg, Gauteng. I mean, wherever you go, if the roads aren't in a bad state, it's the intersections that are now causing problems, and it's got nothing to do with load shedding. This is now down to theft, down to vandalism, and I'd also like to say driver negligence. We're going to get into that in just a bit, right after this.
Connect with the Sandton Times. Email editor@sandtontimes.co.za.
I'm chatting to the JRA's acting head of mobility and freight, Sipho Nhlapo. We're talking about the issues we face on our roads. Why does it take you so long to get to a meeting? Why are you constantly stuck in traffic? It's because some traffic light somewhere in Sandton, in Greater Sandton, in Gauteng is not operating. And it's not functioning because somebody's either stolen the cable, the lights, knocked over a pole, done something to it. And I was chatting to Sipho just before our quick break, and we were just touching on some of the issues. Like, is law enforcement doing enough to deal with this? Is it a supply and demand issue, or is it a law and lawlessness issue? Sipho, are we doing enough, and are the sentences harsh enough to deal with something which essentially is sabotage to the state?
It will never be enough considering the economic damage, because you see, if the country is not favorable to investors, the country cannot generate more work and jobs for more people to actually be employed. So it will never be enough. Basically, I'm saying somebody who does this must just be removed from society so that he cannot repeat this. Let me give you an indication in terms of, is it enough? At some point, one gentleman was arrested for tampering with our intersection, and he was gone for 6 years. And the area that he immediately went out, he went back to it. He went straight back to stealing. He was arrested 2 days. And then when we look at this, but this guy was arrested, said, no, he just left prison 2 days ago. He was back at it. And it's worth for this guy to think it's something I'll continue doing because there's a market for it. Can the market give us differently? Can the market say, can we find alternative to using copper as a best, because it's a best medium of power and it's very affordable, but are there other ways that we can do this thing? Are there other ways we can try to avoid using copper? Even if the ways were there and then we'll try them, we are government, we're not going to be able to rewire all the intersections we have across the city within the time period we have. So it's very critical for people to actually live this. One intersection in the city of Johannesburg, it's a couple of them. They've never been tempered by anyone. They've been there for 30 years. 30 years. If somebody's not touching that thing, our teams goes there, routine maintenance of the product. We have 30 years. We have controllers that's been on the ground for 15 years. Now, if somebody was not touching these things, all these monies that we are talking about, 70 million rands that we are asking for now, will have been invested in other ways to progress you. You guys are in Sandton there. You know, Sandton, it's an international space, man. It's a space where everybody across the world lands there. We should be giving you roads that have adaptive control systems. We should be giving you roads that are more smarter. Because if you go across the world now, the introduction of driverless cars, I thought the person on the phone maybe was driving a car that can drive itself. So
sadly
he
not
had enough time to play.
Sadly not, Sipho. I wish I had a story like that for you, but that's not the story.
Yes, exactly. I'm sorry. I just thought of that maybe he's driving a smarter car. The world is introducing smarter cars, more energy efficient cars. We should be providing you with the roads like that. We should be providing you with assets like that. Now, if somebody is stealing even the basics that we have, we can't progress as a city. These are the things that we need to be fighting about, because we can be far better than we are providing you at the moment.
Absolutely. Now, let's just talk about the traffic lights that are in order, that seem to be, like you say, around for 30 years, that seem to be untouched, untampered, and yet they're not working, because there's a couple of those in Sandton as well. Sometimes it's when the humidity level goes up too much, or there's been a bit of rain, and suddenly the traffic light stops working. What's going on there? Like, why do some traffic lights just stop working and never come back again?
Okay, wonderful. There are three elements that usually affect traffic lights. We've just talked about theft and vandalism. We still have to talk about the accidents. And then there's power supply to traffic lights. Now, a traffic light, just like your phone, just like your laptop, requires energy for it to function. So if there's no energy supply to the intersection, most unfortunately, it will wait until there's energy supplied to it. Across the city of Joburg, we tend to suffer about 31% per month downtime on traffic lights simply due to power. And inherent to that might still be theft and vandalism of Eskom or city power assets. You say if there's an element of humidity and all that, some of them, they stop working. Actually, we've done very well on this one over the years. Before you will see, if it starts raining, every traffic light will be flashing. Over the years, we've been putting some money on recabling some of these intersections. You'll have to remember that some of these intersections are very old. So when they were first put on, they were a papery tape was used to insulate the intersection. So over the years, the water will seep in and then it will create problem. So we have been receiving some money over the years, and we've been recabling, and then we've seen a remarkable improvement in terms of those happening. We still then have some few of those that if there is raining, water might seep in and then affect the intersection going forward. But immediately we see that those kind of things we can deal with because they are within our control to resolve.
Let's get into the accident part, which is sort of the last bit of this trifecta that is causing pain to everyone. Aish is the right word, especially if there's too much aish in the drinks that people are drinking on the weekend. If you leave on a Sunday morning or you leave on a Monday morning and people have had a jolly old time in Sandton, you will see that there's traffic lights that have fallen victim to the odd party goer. And as part of that, we're talking about distracted drivers, people who are drunk, who've been texting, who've been on their phones, lose control of a vehicle and hit a traffic light, and now that traffic light is also a victim as well. I believe that the JRA and JMPD have now started holding motorists accountable for these accidents and damaging public property.
This one is very sad. It's a human-made thing. You know, if somebody deliberately went to the poll, they might say, no, I was drunk. You shouldn't be driving and drinking and driving in this country. What we tend to find in Sandton, Four Ways, that areas of yours, I also love the clubs there, and it's a nice space to really enjoy yourself. However, when people have had a bit more and they drive very powerful, beautiful cars, man, they start testing the horsepower of these vehicles to see whether what they read on the manual of that car is true, that the braking of this car or the speed it can reach, it is. Most unfortunately, most of them never went for professional driving to understand the animal or the beast that they are driving, and they end up on our traffic light. And then out of this, we see a lot of fatalities as well. Young lives lost unnecessarily because somebody was happy driving a beautiful, fast car. I don't think that's the way that people should go in this world, really. It's not worth it. But what we have done now with JMPD, we will finalize the details. We're still talking around them. But if they are on an accident scene, we request them to take all the details of the vehicle involved. I'm very sorry, you could be in hospital being tended to by the doctors. We will be trying to find your insurer and then try to do a third-party claim to your insurer because you've damaged our asset. So we'll be testing it. We'll be trying how best it can work. We're probably thinking after that we're going to have a lot of legal lawyers coming at us and say we shouldn't do that. But if we don't try, it may not stop a lot of people understanding the damage. Pull over or with the controller taken out, we are already talking about 180K. That we need to come quickly and do. If we don't do that quickly, that traffic light is not functional. It just increases the number of accidents within that intersection. So more people might lose their life. More people are going to be delayed to get to work simply because some people were very happy on one weekend and then they damaged the infrastructure. So we'll come back with the details when we finalized with the JMPD and the insurer. Because I think the missing link here is how do we then chase the insurance to get that money back to us as the city.
So just to recap that, it's 180,000 Rand to replace one traffic light.
No. It can be up to R1 million. I just talked about one pole and a controller. So if all the poles, let's say it's 8 poles there, a controller is gone, the globes are gone, minimum 500K, maximum 1 million to rebuild the intersection. It's not cheap.
That is certainly a hefty amount on top of your bar bill or whatever else you're driving, and maybe something to sober you up. But Sipho Nhlapo, it's been absolutely a pleasure chatting to you from the JRA. He is the acting head of mobility and freight, giving us a bit of a sense of what the city is battling in terms of theft, sabotage, crime, but also reckless and negligent driving by people who have either been drinking too much, who are on their cell phones texting, thinking that they've got plenty of time to finish that text, not realizing that that second that they've taken their eyes off the road could cost them their lives, their car, or possibly anywhere between 180,000 and R1 million in damages to public infrastructure. Sipho, thank you so much for joining me on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you very much.
Connect with the Sandton Times. Email editor@sandtontimes.co.za.
Taking you straight into the second half of the Sandton Times Hour, my name is Alexander Leipner, and if there's anything that sounded good during the show, but you didn't get all the details, you didn't have a chance to write it down on whatever platform you use, well, don't stress. On the website, www.sandtontimes.co.za, we're going to be putting up the show notes, and we're going to have a detailed breakdown of everything discussed on this week's edition, so don't stress. And also be sure to check out the social media accounts at Sandton Times. And of course, don't forget the dedicated WhatsApp line for this show, 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866. And feel free to send through your voice notes, your text messages, and whatever else you've got for us. And that's the exclusive line, 084 Sandton. Earlier this year, Hampton by Hilton officially landed on African soil, marking a new chapter in its global expansion with the opening of Hampton by Hilton Sandton on Grayston Drive. And the 158-room property not only becomes the brand's first move into Africa, but also its 150th property in the EMEA region. And the hotel occupies what used to be the Old Mutual office park opposite Investec in Sandton, if you remember that. And I had the chance to sit down with the general manager, Kathleen Hedges, and ask her to give me a better understanding of what the Hampton brand is all about.
We've got something like a service culture called Hamptonality. It actually grew up before they named it that officially, for the staff and the way that they're serving the guests and having fun and looking after each other as a family and just having like down-to-earth, real good service for the guests. And it became such a hit in the US that they actually decided to make the service culture Hamptonality, and that's gone viral with all of the Hampton brands in the globe. Another good thing about this brand, it's the largest footprint in the world. We've got the most rooms in the world. Also very, very tasty for owners to invest in because low cost, high revenues, easy product to open. So it's basically a grab and go, and you open the product. There's no complications to it.
And we've had a bit of a walk around. We've kind of seen what the product looks like. It clearly speaks to a business audience. It's got all the luxuries, but not too many of the complications. It seems to be something that is for short-term stays. Have I kind of got that right? How would you sort of describe that audience?
So we call it focus service. So a Hilton that you know traditionally is more full service. Focus service is we do the minimal, but we do it properly and we do it with quality. So you get a quality free breakfast every morning. It's tasty. You can grab it, go to your office, do your day's activities at the office, and then a very quality good bed to sleep in. So when you wake up the next morning, you feel well rested. So that's what our Hampton is all about.
Apart from it being a new brand and sort of trying to bring a new kind of hospitality into Sandton, you've also done something quite unusual and unique in the way that you've built this hotel, because this essentially is the old Mutual offices
Yes.
that are now have been transformed into hotel rooms and a hotel space.
Absolutely. So my owners are very innovative. They call Top Toyo Investments, and I'm so grateful that they noticed the brand Hampton by Hilton, because it's something that this node really needs. It's something that hasn't existed in the node. It's something super special. You'll see a video tonight where my team is singing and dancing, and it's pet friendly. It's such a fun, hip and happening brand, which I think this node needs.
Pet friendly. How does that work?
Yes, so you can have doggies, cats, they're welcome. All pets are welcome, they're part of the family. So we do have just a cap on 20 kilograms. Obviously, we can't have major dogs on the site, but we do have a lovely dog poop area. We've got a pet menu at the restaurant. We also have pet beds and some amenities for the pets when they stay with us.
That then also speaks to a whole different audience. So
Absolutely.
Clearly not just business or travelers.
Yes,
Who is that audience?
So that's more for my leisure guests, usually over weekends in Sandton. Sandton is a corporate node from Monday to Thursday. So this is the audience that we really hope to capture over weekends. And also, it's not offered in this node. So we're hoping that's going to grab on, especially for pet owners if they're looking for, what can I do today with my doggy? We are here. We can entertain them, we can look after them and give them a nice VIP stay.
You've had a soft launch or a soft opening, as they would say in the industry, over the last couple of weeks. How is the demand shaping up for the property as things come into full swing now?
So we did have a soft opening. As you know, Johannesburg closes down in December. So we opened right when Johannesburg was closing down, but fairly so, because as an opening hotel, you want to ease into it. You want to get the staff comfortable, test the product properly. And it was a great success for us to do it in that way, because now we can hype up into corporate season. And my team is working super hard to get the corporate clients in and to just show them what this brand is all about. And this brand really caters to corporates, because a hot free breakfast in the morning, you go to work and you come back, you've got a desk in your room, comfortable bed, and the next day you're back to work again.
How important is it for you to be in a place or in a space like Sandton? From a brand perspective, obviously from a hotel perspective as well.
From a brand perspective, very, very important. I mean, this is the financial hub of Johannesburg, and we're very well situated, I think, in the node. We're surrounded by a lot of corporate guests, customers, and that's super important to me as a GM, and I think to the Hilton as a brand, because as this is the financial hub and corporate hub, we are well situated and we can actually tap into that business.
You've got a couple of other neighbours in this block. You haven't taken over the entire precinct.
Yes.
Who else are you sharing the space with? I think there's a couple of restaurants as well.
Yes, so this whole strip is owned by my owners, Top Toyo. They've got big ideas. I won't share what they have in mind, but there is some exciting things coming for the future for them. And yes, we've got some restaurants. We've got a Pakistan restaurant, Chinese restaurant. There's some office spaces as well that's being rented out. Also a hair salon and those type of things.
All right, so somebody who wants to maybe have a quick bite to eat but doesn't want to go all the way out of the precinct, there are a couple of options as well.
There's options. And the restaurant's halal as well, so if a guest does prefer that, we can cater to that.
That was General Manager of the Hampton by Hilton, Kathleen Hedges, talking about the opening of the hotel in Sandton earlier this year. And you can get some more details if you'd like to on the Sandton Times website.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Well, the Maslow Hotel in Sandton has welcomed a new executive. Sous Chef Thokozane Shongwe is his name, and he's 38. He grew up in a butchery household, and when I say that, I mean his father had a butchery in Tembisa, and Chef Thokozane found himself dissecting entire carcasses at the age of 15. So that's quite an interesting skill to pick up as a teenager. He also completed a professional cookery qualification through a learnership and a City and Guild qualification from the HTA School of Culinary Art. And I'm thrilled to have Chef Thokozane Shongwe join me on the line. And Chef, thank you so much for making time to be on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's dive into this very interesting history that you've had with food, given that your father was a butcher and had a butchery. How has this shaped your approach to working with meat in your career today?
It has helped influence or the understanding or the choices that I make in terms of what to use in terms of meat cut, and just give me a little bit of in-depth background of farming and what happens from farm to the abattoir, from the abattoir to the main butcher. So I have that slight background and insight in terms of what product to use and choose.
Well, let's get into this new move for you into the Maslow Hotel, and what excites you most about this role as executive sous chef?
Well, the most thing that creates the excitement is having influence with obviously my boss, Chef Offense Morake, to shape the diner's experience coming into the Maslow, from the conferencing to the bar and the restaurant. So the most exciting or important thing that I'm faced with now is creating those memorable experiences through food for each and every event that we have at the Maslow.
You've had over 20 years of experience working across various hotel kitchens. What lessons would you say you've picked up over those years that you still use as sort of a motivation and a guiding force to this day?
Easy does it. Simple phrase meaning you keep it easy, you keep it simple. Then the flavor profile, so just don't overcomplicate everything to just make sure that your dish is exceptional. So keep it minimal to let the star of the dish, which is the meat at this point, shine out. But now at the Maslow, our steaks come from open flame. So that helps a lot because now we have a nice smoky texture to our steaks when you eat them.
There's something to be said about cooking meat on an open flame. Hey, nothing beats it.
Nothing beats it.
Chef, you've also cooked for some very high-profile guests, I believe former presidents and also international stars. Maybe you can give us a bit of insight as to who those people are, if you're allowed to, and kind of what have those experiences taught you about the expectations of people who are very elite in terms of their dining?
So I don't know if I'm allowed to, but it was previously. I've worked at some prestigious hotels and establishments as well. So getting to interact and get their insight into understanding, it also allows you to get a perspective of them in terms of, because they are well traveled. So their palate, and it helps you as a chef to gauge yourself in their response and think, how far are we from the world in terms of taste and flavor profiles? When you have a well-traveled, like a former president or a former king or a head of state in a monarchy capacity that has traveled and eaten in every part of the world, and they come to you and they compliment you on the flavor profiles that you've created together. So it shows that the gap is not far off with the trendsetters and leaders in the top of first world countries in the world and what we are doing in South Africa.
If you had to define that palette, is there a specific standard sort of flavor profile that you come across that is sort of common amongst that group?
Yes, Mediterranean a lot. I think the world has, obviously, majority of the world have a French and German influence in terms of what the kitchen structure and the model of cooking comes from. But Mediterranean is a profile that comes across, and their produces are found throughout the world, and they can grow easily in those regions. So it's easier for a chef to be working on that flavor profile of the Mediterranean. And that's what we are doing under Maslow as well. We have a little bit of influence in the South African. We are influenced by our daily flavors in South Africa, but we will be bordering mostly on what the Mediterranean cuisine is about.
Amazing. It sounds very good, and we look forward to seeing that menu once it comes online. And maybe to misquote Dusty Springfield and her hit song, "The only man who can ever feed me was the son of a butcher man." And that's you, Chef Thokozane Shongwe. It's good to have you on the Sandton Times Hour. Thank you for making time to chat.
Thank you very much, Alex.
It's a good question because lots of people have asked us that, what are you going to do going forward?
That's a great question.
Two critically important questions.
Such a great and interesting question.
I have not even thought about that until you just said it.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Well, the Seychelles is a popular destination for South Africans, whether it's the ample outdoor activities or just the gorgeous beaches, or a chance to indulge in some of the local delicacies. It seems like the Seychelles is just one of those places that everybody wants to go check out at some point in their life. And Tourism Seychelles recently hosted a media briefing in Sandton where the Principal Secretary, Sherin Francis, outlined the vision for Seychelles tourism in 2025. And I had a chance to chat to her and asked her a little bit more about how important South African tourists are to this island nation.
South Africa is a very important secondary source market for Seychelles. It doesn't produce as much visitors as our European markets. Just to familiarize the audience here, Seychelles receive on average 260,000 visitors a year. And our main European markets, the like of German, French, we're talking into the 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 visitors a year. South Africa, on average, we are producing now 10,000. The best year, we produce 17,000 visitors. It's particularly interesting is the travel pattern. They travel in periods where it's the low shoulder periods for Seychelles, so there are rooms availability and they are not in competition for rooms with the European visitors. And probably you can benefit from great discounts and prices during these times because it's our low shoulder period. For example, the June-July period, it's a low season period for Seychelles. But also what is interesting for this market for us, which we are connected directly by Air Seychelles, by the way, it's the fact that it also attracts interesting special interest groups. So people who love outdoor and nature, people who love fishing, who love sailing, cruising, being in the outdoor in general. Seychelles is a great place to visit. And in this area, we're quite outstanding and we stand out from the rest of a lot of beach destinations. And a lot of South Africans who visited us, they are these special interest groups who likes either diving, who likes fishing, because we have one of the world's best fishing grounds for pleasure fishing, especially for fly fishing. And we also have what we call the catch and release, so where it's much more sustainable. As well, people who love nature. We have great walks and trail. And when we're talking about events, we have 3 events in Seychelles that really put to the forefront all these unique selling points I'm talking about. We have the FIFA World Beach Soccer, which will be happening from the 1st to the 11th of May this year, to show how we're a great outdoor adventure, a beach holiday destination. We have the Seychelles Sailing Challenge from the 20th to the 27th of July this year. And it would be a great opportunity for people who love sailing to see that, yes, we do have one of the world's best sailing place is the Seychelles, because we are multi-islands, and actually this challenge will give them an opportunity for a 6-night, 7-day sailing competition adventure, visiting about 5-6 islands, inner islands in the Seychelles. A great way to discover Seychelles is actually by sea, by our sailing. And the third event is actually the Seychelles Nature Trail Challenge, which is 25 odd kilometers of racing amongst the green, picturesque trees of the Seychelles. And if you love nature and you like trekking, it's a great way. Other than it's a competition, yes, but it's a great way to discover our biodiversity and to enjoy the nature. And what best place to be racing in the beautiful Seychelles Islands, where the air is clean and fresh, and a great therapy for our body as well.
Well, that was the Principal Secretary, Sherin Francis, representing Seychelles Tourism and chatting to me about some of the exciting plans for the island nation in 2025. And with that, it's all we have time for on the Sandton Times Hour this week. As always, available on all leading podcast platforms if you would like to listen to it again, if you'd like to share it, or if you'd like to subscribe and catch it wherever you are in the world on a regular basis. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za, connect on social media @Sandton Times, hop onto the website www.sandtontimes.co.za, and of course, don't forget that WhatsApp number 084 Sandton, that's 084 726 3866. Save it on your phone, keep it for future reference, and I'd love to hear from you. Send through your voice notes, and maybe we'll play them next week. Feel free to send through your questions or comments as always, and of course, thank you to all our guests who made time to be on the show this week, as well as the team behind the scenes that makes this all happen. Bit of a new team in parts, so we're finding our way, and I'm sure we will be rocking and rolling as the weeks progress, and we'll be running this thing as if we've been doing it for absolute years. Thank you for listening, and God willing, let's do it all again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the Sandton Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.